morning and welcome to the CTL The Buzz. This is a little mini talk show where we're bringing in guests from our campus, faculty, staff, and just learning more about what's happening on campus and showcasing all the good stuff that we're doing. So this morning we have Summer Cherland, and she is presenting next week at the Student Success Conference. So if you don't know, the Student Success Conference is held in downtown Phoenix every year. It's a big event, so if you haven't registered, make sure you get registered. Registration fills up fast. It is next Friday, October 14th. But we've brought Summer in to give us a sneak preview of the session that she'll be presenting at 10:30 a.m. next Friday.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I am presenting 10:30, which is apparently a very exciting, good time to be presenting right after the keynote. And my session is titled My Year Without PowerPoint. And I started this year, it was 2 years ago. For about 7-8 months, I'd been attending every technology training I could go to at Gateway and at Estrella Mountain, where I was adjuncting. And I would go to these sessions and I would learn about these amazing tools, Nearpod, Prezi, Animoto, PictoChart, all kinds of things online. And then I would say, wow, that's really great. And I'd walk out the door and never use a single one of those tools.
Well, how do you choose? They're all amazing, and yes.
And it takes time, right, to learn it. So why am I going to go plug in all these images into Animoto when I already have a slideshow in PowerPoint on one of my jump drives?
Right.
And so I needed some sort of motivator. And so for my New Year's resolution of 15 maybe, or 2014 maybe, I swore off PowerPoint for a year. And that meant no PowerPoint for my classes, for job talks, for conference presentations, for anything. And I was forced to find technological tools to present information in a new and challenging way.
That could be a scary challenge.
It was a very scary challenge. It was this great brainstorm, New Year's Eve when I have 3 weeks before classes start. But it was a terrible, terrible undertaking by like May, when I had to essentially rebuild 3 of my classes from scratch.
Right.
So it was a challenge, but it has since changed the way I use PowerPoint. I still do use PowerPoint now, but for very different reasons,
right, and
in very different formats.
Interesting, interesting. So I guess in your workshop you'll get a little bit more into what you're doing and how you purposely use PowerPoint?
Sure, and in my session I break it into 3 parts.
Okay.
So the first is sort of an anticipation guide. So for all of my reading instructors out there, an anticipation guide is a great way to generate interest among your students for whatever the content will be. The next is active learning strategies in the classroom that don't use any technology. And I do this because there are many of us who are frustrated with our students who use their laptops or their cell phones all the time. And just having a policy in your class isn't going to keep anybody from looking at their phone.
Right.
Right. Even if you, threaten them with losing extra credit points or whatever, you have to keep them engaged in a way that distracts them from their technology. And so I find ways to do what's called unplugged teaching in a way that is fun for the students.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, and then the third portion of my talk is where I introduce all of my favorite techie tools. So I have a running list of about 20 technological tools that are really useful in the classroom.
Right.
All of them are free for educators, and I encourage anybody who has taken any of my sessions or just cares to email me with any suggestions they have. Even if it's something they've never used before, but they want somebody to try it out, I'll try it out. And if I like it, I'll put it on my list of 20 tools.
Excellent. So if you'd like to find out what those 20 tools are, you'll have to show up at the Student Success Conference at 10:30 to hear Summer talk about those tools.
Yes.
So since you've done this, how have your students reacted?
They always react well at the end of the semester, but they struggle in 2 ways. First, they come to me if they miss a class and they say, can I get your slides?
Right.
And as instructors, we struggle with that sometimes. Do I want to share my intellectual property, but I want my students to be successful? Well, without slides, I can't share slides. I don't have slides to share. But I'm happy to share with you all the resources that I use in building my lessons. So I give the students I'm a historian, so all the primary documents, all the illustrations or photographs, all of the historical analyses that we use in class. Anybody who misses class can still have access to those things.
Nice.
What they don't have access to is my of the moment, brilliant opinions that we all think we have. But I'm happy to talk with them in my office hours.
Right.
They also struggle because my no PowerPoint rule applies to them. So in their presentations at the end of the semester, they are not allowed to use PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah. I bet that throws a lot of students kind of off of their game as far as you have to do a report or a presentation, so the go-to tool is typically PowerPoint.
Yes, it's typically PowerPoint. They typically data dump all of their scholarly paper or their Wikipedia copy and paste into PowerPoint, and now I don't have to read that. So instead, I really encourage them to use their future career or their future goals to incorporate a tool to present their information.
Nice.
So if they're artists, they can do a painting, they can do a sculpture. If they're future teachers, they can write a lesson plan. If they're future business people, they can create sort of a proposal of an argument. But they can't use PowerPoint. They have to use something different.
So there's probably a little bit, you say in the beginning they're not quite excited, but toward the end they are. So I'm sure there's a little transition period of getting them even familiar with what is it they're going to do in their field.
Right.
And then helping them to work through what does it actually look like.
Right. And you have to, or I have to build into my classes beyond content, also learning strategies for success. So, probably the first 3 weeks of the class, we spend them getting to know their strengths, them getting to know their research and learning styles or preferences, and we introduce them to all kinds of ways that they can present information. We're 7 weeks in. Most of them are pretty confident now about what they like to learn and how they like to learn.
Nice.
But they're still trying to figure out how to present their information. And for me, that is the learning process. They are thinking about it all the time.
Nice.
They're not waiting till 2 days before the report is due to turn in a template of a PowerPoint.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Sure.
I'd love that you're our first guest.
Well, thank you for having me.
We would like to continue the Buzz Show. So one thing we're going to ask our guests is who should be our next guest for the Buzz?
Ooh, and I can suggest anybody who is on campus?
Anybody, yes.
Anybody on campus or anybody, okay, so it could be faculty, staff, or students?
Correct.
But and what is the intention behind the next guest?
So we want to keep topics around teaching and learning, just in general. This week we picked out student success since the Student Success Conference was coming up. So, but it could be any topic that maybe really just anything that maybe a department's working on, or we have a student project that has some promise to teaching and learning. Just stuff happening on campus that we can showcase and share information.
I love that. We have so many wonderful people on campus from whom I'd love to hear. But I would suggest another new faculty member who is bright, very charismatic, very enthusiastic in the classroom. I would suggest Ryan Centers of Psychology.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
So Ryan, we will be reaching out to you, and hopefully you'll be our next guest on The Buzz. Thank you and have an awesome week.